It's a great time of year. Some of y'all are thinking we're midway through football season or Halloween's coming up, and I'm thinking about the pre-rut. And we've been seeing some great pre-rut action.
It's the morning of October 12th, and it is firearms antler season this weekend, and we need to boost. Good luck. Film it, that's more important. Yeah, mature buck. See how far the neck goes down, merges with the brisket.
The buck come out kind of in a hurry, and I thought, boy, he's got to do some feeding, but I could tell he was tense. He was kind of muscled up. If you look at him, looked a little tense. And right off camera, out of view, because we're focused on the buck, of course, a doe comes out also.
That's a doe. He chased her back in the timber, that rascal.
She might come back out.
Yeah.
She was really tense. I wish you could have seen her. Wish we got footage of that too. And then that buck is locked on her and actually pushes her back. It was typical pre-rut action. The doe probably was not receptive yet. And that buck looked like, after I saw the doe, he'd been trying to herd her in the woods. She come out and saw him, probably thought, oh, I've escaped that buck. She ran back in the cover and he took right after her.
He's got that big old chest. Look at that walk. I can tell from here his tarsal glands are very stained. See how dark his tarsals are? Yes, sir.
We were in a redneck blind, cover right behind the blind next to this large food plot where we've cut all the cedars and burned and done a few other things to make a great bedding area next to this food source. Anytime we can get food and cover right next to each other with an ability to approach, hunt, and exit without alerting deer, well, that's a great setup. And there's an interior road that separates this bedding area from the feeding area of this large food plot that we travel, coming, going to work, all that stuff all the time. So deer totally conditioned us being on that road. It's easy for us to have someone drop us off at that blind or getting that blind from one of our tracker units without alerting deer. It was a great setup during a morning hunt, and seeing that buck run out all stiff-legged, well, that fit for the time of year. This time of year, not many does are receptive. A few are, but most are not. The peak of the rut here in Missouri is going to be in that mid-November time frame. But there's going to be some cycle early, about 28 days early. If you do the math, you back off from mid-November to when we were there, it's just right on time. Matter of fact, I marked my calendar to be watching for rut action 28 days after that encounter. And you're going to see that. Does that are running from bucks are not wanting to play the dating game, and bucks pushing hard. Scrapes are really active right now, all leading up to great pre-rut behavior. And watching how that buck is pushing a doe tells us that pinch points, travel corridors, anything like that is a good place to be right now as bucks start moving more steps per day than normal, covering some ground, trying to find a receptive doe. You may be thinking that that was an isolated event, or I read a bit much of that buck's posture, but what you don't know is Daniel and Steph were hunting on the other side of proving grounds that same morning. Same conditions, everything's the same. Hunting over a food plot next to cover. That's a common strategy we use. It was later in the morning when they had a really cool run-in with a big buck. You notice this buck is panting. He's obviously been running, most likely pushing that doe. And notice that very typical behavior of that doe and that posture. When she goes down to urinate, a lot of times does don't squat that much. That doe was probably pretty close to being receptive. And then the doe runs off and he goes over and smells where she had just squatted. Steph and Daniel saw something else cool about that buck. He did the lip curl, or what's scientifically known as fleeman. I believe my friend Carl Miller discovered that there's a gland in the roof of the mouth that was designed specifically for them to take that scent in, not just inhale, but take that scent in and analyze it to determine the receptive status of the doe. Lip curling is a great sign that that buck is really thinking about rutting behavior.
He's shooting outside the blind. You can't see her.
I can't see anything through the scope. Okay, I see it.
You see her out there in the front.
Yeah, at the road.
She's in the front.
Our mission this weekend, because it was firearms antlerless only season, was to remove some does. You know, with that Winchester, we can go 200-300 yards when we're limited to our primes. That's 30 yards or so for whitetails. So that's a big weekend for us to work toward meeting our doe harvest objectives. Balance the amount of mouths with the amount of food on the property. And it's wicked dry, so we're trying to take a few more than normal to help get that balance established. A lot of guys are thinking, oh my gosh, don't shoot that doe. But Steph did exactly right. She took that doe, made a great shot, and we've shared before that bucks don't just hear a gunshot and go, oh my gosh, there's hunters, I gotta get out of county. They don't really know what a gunshot is. They don't communicate like humans do. And I tell people all the time, if I could share one thing with you to make you a better hunter, it's stop thinking like a human and putting those human emotions on a deer. Deer don't know what a flashlight is going through the woods. They may know it's something odd or different, but they're not sitting there thinking, oh, there's a flashlight. That's probably a hunter going to a stand.
Great shot, Steph.
Growing Deer is brought to you by Bass Pro Shops and Cabela's. Also by Green Cover Food Plots, Winchester, PH Outdoors, Moultrie Mobile, Steel, Fleet Outdoor Apparel, Morel Targets, Fourth Arrow, Soil Pro Outdoors, Scorpion Venom Archery, Case IH Tractors, Burris Optics, G5 Broadheads, Prime Bows, and Redneck Hunting Blinds.
These are just our observations from one morning of hunting, but our Moultrie Mobiles are out there working 24/7 every day of the week. And they've been picking up a lot of this similar behavior, pre-rut behavior. Bucks working scrapes, bucks pushing does, lots of really cool videos we're getting from those cameras, and that's great information, not just cool to see, but it helps us adjust our hunting strategy for the current stage of the rut the deer are in. One of the Moultrie videos was of a very nice buck pushing a doe. What's interesting is the buck Daniel and Steph saw, the buck I saw, and the one the Moultrie picked up are all what we call bonus bucks. Bucks we didn't know about, we don't have previous knowledge of. Got to remember that during the pre-rut, bucks tend to use a much larger portion of their home range. It's still their home range, but outside the pre-rut and rut, they're food cover, you know, avoiding stress, avoiding predators or hunters, and they can do that on a smaller portion of their range. But during the pre-rut, they're going to use all portions of their home range when looking for receptive does. So this is a time when you may get pictures or see bucks that you're not used to seeing. And also, bucks that were homebodies may disappear because now they're using a bigger portion of their home range, and that may overlap on neighboring property. Great weekend hunting, but a lot of folks, I think, maybe didn't go out and go hunting because the temperatures are blazing. They got up to the 90s. I did a little quick math, 17% above normal. 90 degrees in mid-October in the Ozarks is cooking, but not in the right way. But deer are still doing their daily life, what's appropriate for that day of the year, the amount of sunshine that day of the year. And when it's the pre-rut or the rut, even if it's way warmer than normal, they're not saying, it's too hot, I'm not gonna feed today, or I'm not gonna participate in the rut today. So don't let temperatures keep you from hunting. Maybe a bit more uncomfortable on us, but the deer are out there every day and they're gonna do what's necessary to survive and do everything a deer does each day of the year, no matter the weather conditions. You know, if you were hunting somewhere else here at the Proving Grounds and you did not see the buck Steph and Daniel saw or what I saw, and it was that hot and you didn't see anything, you might think, it's doggone hot and it's in the October lull. I should be, you know, fishing or doing something else today, saving my hunting days for later. A lot of research has shown using GPS collars on deer There's just not an October lull, and we go into more detail on that in a previous episode. I'll put a link in the description. We've had some great hunts already. Daniel's already tagged a nice buck. I've got an archery tag in my pocket for a buck, and we're putting some venison in the freezer. I hope y'all are getting outside and enjoying this time of year from a deer hunter's point of view, but even more important, enjoy creation every day, because the Creator made this wonderful place for all to live as one of His gifts to us. But the most important gift He gave us was His Son, Jesus Christ, as a way for us to have a relationship with Him. And I encourage each of you to take advantage of that and seek God's will for your life daily. Thanks for watching Growing Deer.